I guess I'm going to start. And Lauren, thank you for making the time to be with us and to um, share your experience. I heard about you and I saw what you have made. So I'm really excited to listen to what you bring to us and what you can teach us today. So, for everyone, today we're going to be talking about how to create an intentional marketing plan that you will actually stick to. I think as a small business owners, this is something that we really need to learn. Maybe we try a lot of things for marketing and to sell our products, and that can be really daunting if it's not working. So I'm here to listen and to, of course, learn about Lauren, to give you like a little bit of background of who she is. She is the host of Making Good, the podcast for small business owners who want to do better marketing. But she's not only that, she's also the founder of the small business membership Making Good Happen. And she also owns two product based businesses, a retail shop, and a paper goods business. So you have all the knowledge I think that we really need to learn from. And she's also an ex-corporate marketer. She loves combining her love for marketing with her belief that small businesses can really change the world. So Lauren, thank you so much for being here. To start, I'm just going to give some reminders. This is a 40-minute webinar. Once we hit the 40 minutes, this webinar is going to end, but we're going to try to avoid that. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat box, and we're going to have a 10-minute Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And also, if you are not here, this webinar is also recorded, and it's going to be in our YouTube channel, and you can watch the replay at any time you want. So, Lauren, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to give you the power of this webinar.
Yeah.
Give me a minute here to make you the host so you can share your screen and do whatever you want. So welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation and a very nice introduction also. Let me get my screen going here. Present full screen. There we go. Okay, so we are going to be talking about, as you said, how to create a marketing plan that you'll actually stick to. And I liked the context that you sort of set up, Delmeth, because you're right. Being a small business owner is very overwhelming, especially as most of us, we are not like marketers by training. So we're just trying to kind of figure everything out. And we're trying a lot of things and chasing shiny objects and not really clear a lot of the time on what's actually going to make the difference for us. So that's what today's presentation is all about, is how to create a marketing plan that actually works and that you actually stick to, which is kind of the most important part, that many of us, probably a lot of you watching, either live or on YouTube, like you can probably relate to that sticking to the plan is often a lot harder than actually making it in the first place. So that's what we're here to talk about. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about how to create a smart, intentional marketing plan that will drive results for your business and that you will actually stick to. So if you're wondering if you're in the right place, if you are ready to stop winging it in favor of a more thoughtful and strategic approach to marketing your business, if you feel overwhelmed by all of the platforms, strategies, and tactics that everyone is telling you you need to use, if you want to focus your limited time and energy for marketing on the right things, and if you're motivated to start doing things differently so you can see different results, that is what today is all about. It is totally possible to have a marketing plan that does all of these things, that doesn't overwhelm you, that you execute consistently, even if you don't think you're a consistent person, and most importantly, that drives results for your business. And that is what we are talking about. So, as just a quick hello, I am a parent to a 2-year-old, Casey. This is him at 3 months old. He's now 2, and we have another one on the way. I'm obsessed with mindset. So, you're going to hear some of that in here. Just a little bit of how our mindset actually does make an impact on our marketing plan and the way that we execute things. I love making messes. I love solo travel. Mental health is really important to me. I love bright colors, as you'll probably get from my presentation and my clothes. And yeah, like Delma said, I'm an ex-corporate marketing director. So a lot of what I like to talk about is bringing all the best things I learned there, the things that I think really apply to small businesses, and try to translate them into languages that make sense for everyone. So the small businesses that I own a watercolor-based paper goods business called Good Sheila. I host the Making Good podcast, which has also led into Making Good Happen, which is a membership for small business owners. And I own a retail shop in Seattle called Station 7. So I just want to before set the stage here, what would change for you if you had a totally doable, immensely effective marketing plan that you executed consistently? Creating and consistently executing an intentional strategic marketing plan will enable you to make more sales and a bigger impact than ever before, which is really what I am excited about. More sales is great, but I'm excited about what more sales means for us. It means we have more influence. It means we can give our money to things that we care about and we can make an impact in the way that we really want to. So I want to key you into a key part of this presentation and the title you may have noticed. Let's first talk about the most critical element of your marketing. That is intention. As you probably know, if you're a small business owner, especially when it comes to marketing, there's way more out there than we could ever possibly do. We cannot do everything. So intention is what we use to decide what's most important for us. What do we need to focus on? What's actually going to lead to results when it comes to the platforms we choose, the strategies and the tactics that we use. Intention is what we're going to apply to that. So that's really the foundation of what we're talking about today. So I'm going to walk you through quickly the 7 steps of our presentation today, and then we'll dig into each one. So step 1 in making this marketing plan that is going to work for us and that we'll stick to is to define our goals. The second step is to get honest about our bandwidth. This is the one that I think most people miss. This third step is to answer some 3 foundational questions about our business, make sure that we're totally clear on our the basics that everything is built upon. We're going to choose our platforms, our marketing platforms. We are going to lay out a schedule. We're going to plan that schedule across 1 month to start. And then we're going to talk about different ways to make this plan stick. So first, defining your goals. You cannot create a marketing plan that accomplishes your specific goals if you're not clear on what they actually are. Marketing can do so many things for us. It can help us build our audience. It can help us make more sales. It can help us improve our brand recognition. It can help us sell to wholesalers. But if you don't know what exactly it is that you want to do, it's really hard to design a marketing plan and choose marketing strategies that are going to lead you to that goal. So it's very important to first get clear before you start to set out this goal or this plan. What are your primary business goals for the year? Ideally, 1, maybe 2 is the best way to do this. It could be I'm increasing my revenue from last year by 10% by focusing on wholesale or by focusing on e-commerce or whatever it is. Get clear on what is the specific goal that you have for the year. Again, ideally just 1, maybe 2. And then what marketing activities are going to support these goals. So like I said, different activities, different kinds of marketing activities will do different things for you. So it's so important to know what your goal actually is before we start brainstorming. Okay, what is it that's going to help me make more sales through my website? What is it that's going to help me reach more potential retailers for my small business? And then once we're clear on some of the activities, what needs to happen each month to make progress toward those goals? So this is the first step, is getting clear on what your goals are. The second, which like I said, is often missed, is to get clear about your bandwidth. And this is, in my view, the biggest problem with how much most of us approach marketing is that we say, oh, I'm going to do 5 reels a week and pitch myself for wholesalers and send 2 emails and do a blog and X, Y, and Z. And it'd be great to do all those things, but we have limited time and resources. We all do, even the biggest businesses. And so we need to decide with our limited time and resources and bandwidth, because a lot of us, it's just us in the beginning doing our marketing. With these limitations, how do we choose the right things? How do we prioritize the things that are going to make the biggest difference? So before we start laying out this plan, I would love for you to take a second to think about how much time per week can you realistically dedicate to marketing? Is it 2 hours? Is it 5 hours? Is it 10? That's going to dictate what we choose in terms of our marketing plan and what we're able to include. So being really honest with yourself and even like estimating on the low end. If you think you sometimes have 5 hours and sometimes have 7 hours, say 5. If you sometimes have 1, sometimes have 4, say like somewhere in the middle, 2. You can always do more. If you have this plan, you make your priorities marketing in terms of marketing, you do all those things, you can always go do more and post another reel or a TikTok or whatever. But we want to make sure that we're spending our time on the most important things first. And that's what this exercise is all about. Okay, so the next step 3 is that foundational information that we would just want to get clear on for our own business. So I like to think of these as 3 key questions, and they are: who is your ideal customer? What do you have to offer? In other words, what is your value proposition? And what sets you apart? In other words, what is your unique selling point? These are kind of marketing words, but these questions are phrased in a way that hopefully is clear for everyone. So we're going to use my small business, my paper-based business, as an example for this. Thinking about your ideal customer, you can say a lot about your ideal customer. And if you want to get really clear on them, which I suggest you do, and like go really deep into this, I would suggest you Google like ideal customer avatar questions. You want to know them as best as you can. And I really like to focus on what are called like the psychographics instead of demographics. Demographics are like age, race, location. Psychographics are like what's going on in their head. What do they care about? What's important to them? What do they wake up thinking about? That kind of stuff. So to me, that is more important and more relevant to people's buying behavior. So that's something to think about for sure. But here's an example for a good Sheila. Just like, obviously, I know a lot more about my ideal customer than I can fit in a paragraph, but as a starting point, good Sheila's ideal customer is someone who believes in the power of small things. She knows how good it feels to receive a thoughtfully written card and selected a handwritten card. And she wants to create that feeling for others. She loves to buy handmade products from small businesses where she can get to know the human behind the brand. Okay, so that's a little bit about good Sheila's ideal customer. What do you have to offer? And again, the marketing term for this is value proposition. Good Sheila makes bright, colorful, and optimistic paper goods for intentional shoppers who want to bring the color and vibrance of the natural world to their homes. A good format for this is I make X, being like, what is the actual product you make, for Y, when Y is your ideal customer, so they can, and then like, what does your product do for them? What benefit does your product bring? So this is kind of broadly filling in those points. So good Sheila makes X, bright, colorful, and optimistic paper goods, for Y, intentional shoppers. That's my ideal customer who want, and then so they can, I've said it another way, but who want to bring the color and vibrance of the natural world into their homes. Okay, what sets you apart? And this is what makes us different from the rest. What makes us stand out? A lot of marketers will describe this in a way that's like, what makes you the only one in the world who has the same thing? Like, what makes you different from 100% of the other businesses? To me, that feels like a lot of pressure. So I just like give us all permission to say, what makes me different from almost everyone else? Like, what's that thing that makes me different from the majority of other businesses, if not 100% of them? So for me, Good Sheila offers plant-inspired greeting cards, vinyl stickers, and art prints for nature lovers so they can bring the color and vibrance of the outdoors into their homes. Unlike other greeting card companies, our cards are designed to live a second life as art, minimizing waste and maximizing beauty in your home. So those are some examples. Hopefully that gives you something to start from. Let's talk about platforms. We are in a world of marketing where there are pretty much infinite options. There's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. I mean, email. I'm just scratching the surface. Twitter, LinkedIn. Now there's Threads. Like there are so many different things that we could be doing. And I really like this illustration. This is from the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown, which is a fantastic book if you have not read. This is a great illustration of your energy and how to spend your energy. If you take in both of these diagrams on the left and the right, we're using the same amount of energy. On the left, we're going in about 12 different directions and we're going, about, let's say it's a foot in each direction. So we make a little bit of progress in a lot of different ways. On the other hand, if we took all of that and we poured it into one, we would go so much further. We could get 12 feet in one direction versus 1 feet in 12 directions. So to me, this is a great illustration for platforms. Instead of picking 12 different platforms where you do a little bit and like make a tiny impact in all of those places, what if you took all of that energy and really focused on 1, 2, maybe 3? And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Focus on doing a few things really well. Again, let's bring it back to intention. So when you're thinking about the platforms that you want to choose for your marketing, you want to choose platforms based on what you know about your ideal customer. So where are they hanging out? Where do they like to spend their time? As well as what feels most relevant to your business. So, if you have a very visual business, a platform that has a lot of visuals is probably a good option. So you can show them. So for example, Twitter might not be the best because that's really a text first platform versus Instagram or Pinterest or TikTok are all visual first platforms. A third thing that I didn't put here, but I would submit to you as another thing to factor into your consideration would be, where do you actually like to hang out? Where do you enjoy creating content? If you're creating content somewhere that you just like hate, that like brings you down, you don't like the feeling there, I think that's going to really come through in your content. So I definitely give you permission to consider like what feels good for you. Where do you like to create content, and factor that into this decision as well. So thinking about where's your ideal customer, what feels most relevant for your business, as well as what do you enjoy the most. And that's where we're going to really narrow in on. There's a few different types of platforms, and let's talk a little bit about what I'm hoping you'll choose. So I almost never in my approach to marketing will say you have to do this. Like everyone has to do Instagram. Everyone has to do LinkedIn. Like I'll never do that. Except I have one exception to this, and that is that I think everyone should be prioritizing email marketing. And, that would be a whole other presentation, why email marketing, but to put it very simply, it is statistically shown in study after study after study to have a much higher return on investment than basically any other platform, but certainly social media platforms. And also you just have a lot more control over it. So if I have someone's email address, they've signed up to hear from me, they want to be on my email list. That of course is very important. You can't add people to your email list who haven't subscribed. But if I have a list of people who want to hear from me, like I get to control whether they hear from me or not. Whereas on other platforms where we tend to be a little more at the mercy of the algorithm, or, just what gets shown to people versus if you're subscribed to my email address, like you're going to get my email until you unsubscribe. So I hope that you will choose email as one of your platforms. I know it feels a little bit scary sometimes because it's just something we're less familiar with, but it really can be super simple. And feel free to get in contact with me. I have tons of ideas and resources on this. So anyway, email, please make that one of your one. And if you need to be convinced, feel free to DM me on Instagram and we can chat about it. Social media is generally most small business owners will choose at least one social media platform. I would say just one, start out with just one. Discovery. So discovery platforms are ways people will find you, ways of getting in front of new people. So ways of getting discovered by new people. Certainly that happens a little bit on social media, but there actually are better ways to get found by new people. You could do paid advertising if you have budget for that. You can pursue PR opportunities like magazines and blogs and TV spots, things like that. Or you can pursue being a guest expert somewhere, like pitching yourself for a podcast or a YouTube video or something like that. You can set up collaborations and partnerships with other business owners or influencers online where you are getting in front of one another's audiences. And of course, you can focus on things like Pinterest and SEO. Both of these are ways of getting found when people are searching. So those would be some options for getting discovered. And then of course, other marketing activities that might be incorporated into your plan include long form content, which is something like a podcast, a video, or a blog. Website updates, like if you have a new collection that you're launching, and then offline marketing like trade shows or wholesale shows, things like that, or direct mail. So step 5 here is to commit to a schedule, taking into account the bandwidth that we have, so the number of hours a week, and the platforms we've chosen. Let's look at how much time we have and lay out what we can do consistently. And I like to think of this in terms of each week. So if I say in a week, I can write 1 email, I can do 2 Instagram posts, 2 reels, I can show up for 3 days on stories, maybe I'll do a LinkedIn post, a blog post, 5 Pinterest pins, and a PR pitch. I want to say that looking at this is a lot. This is not what you would want to start with. So I'd say, like, if you could start with the first few things, that would be a very good start. But let's say, just for illustration, that I can do all of this in a week. Plus any non-recurring projects. So, website updates, things like that. We're going to loosely plan this out. So looking at a month, maybe I do my Instagram posts on Mondays and Fridays, reels on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe I spend every Wednesday writing a pitch or two. Maybe my blog posts come out Mondays and I send my emails on Tuesdays. And I schedule my pins on Fridays and do my LinkedIn posts Thursdays. So this would be a way of laying it out. I think it's really simple to just try to have a simple schedule if that helps you. Like, there's no requirement whatsoever to always do your posts the same 2 days a week, for example. But if that helps you stay on a schedule, then by all means do that. And also know that you can change it. So like if I was doing a launch of a new product this week, I could change the schedule for that week. So maybe I'm posting more often, or things are a little bit different. Maybe I don't have time to do PR pitches that week. I might take that off. So this doesn't have to be like a rigid schedule, but it's just something to start you out with. Is like, maybe this is my general monthly plan for marketing. Now, what about the content? What are we saying in all of this content? Well, I would suggest that you have some kind of annual calendar that you start out with. Maybe in the beginning of the year, you say, okay, I'm going to try to do a launch here, here, and here. I always do a Black Friday deal, and I always do an end of the year deal, let's say. So if you have some kind of annual calendar, like what's happening, you would want to reference that as you're building each month's plan. So if I'm doing the plan right now for August, some of the themes that I might put in there would be back to school. If horoscopes are relevant to my business at all, maybe that's a theme that I consider. It's before Labor Day, it's the end of the summer here. So those might be some of the different themes that I would think about when it comes to creating my content. Then I suggest you put in your promotional posts. So these are, my strategy, my recommendation for folks is that about 80% of your content is value added in some way. So the main point of it isn't like, buy this product. So the main point of it is, here's a way, here's how to use our product, or best styling tips for brass jewelry, or whatever it is, different ways of educating or humanizing your content, even entertaining. All of this kind of stuff can be considered value added content. This stuff that's just like, here's a product photo, buy this. It is important. People need to know what we sell, but it shouldn't be all of your content. And I suggest like only about 10 to 20%. All this to say, I then put in the promo post. I start with that. So I say, okay, I'm going to do a promo post here, here, here. And then I fill in everything else. Another thing that we're not going to have time to get into too much detail about is something called primary content. This is just the idea that each week you really focus on like pouring your best energy into one piece of content, like a bigger piece of content, usually a blog post, a YouTube video, something like that. And then you can take bits and pieces of that for other pieces of content throughout the week. So if I had a blog post on Monday that says, your guide to summer jewelry styling, maybe that is the blog post. Then I might pull one piece of that for an Instagram post. I might sum up the key points and bullet points in my email and then say, read the whole blog post here. You can turn one piece of great content into so many other pieces of content. So that is another great way to start fleshing out all those different pieces of content that we've committed to doing. Another thing would be to think about content pillars. So if you have like 5 topics that you always go back to, like I always talk about sustainability, and let me just say, for one of my own businesses, so for Good Sheila, I talk a lot about like the art process. I talk about doing good through your business. I talk about like my life. I talk about color and nature. So I might reference these different pillars to help come up with content ideas. And then I think it's another great thing is to have a list of content ideas that you can just go to when you're feeling uninspired. I have a list of 100 free content ideas. If you would like to download that, there's a link at the end of the presentation. It's makinggoodpodcast.com/100 prompts. But I'll put it on the screen at the end of the session. And that just like has 100 different content ideas you can pull from when you need them. So these are great ways to think about what is your content actually going to say. Now we are at the most important step, and that is that we want to make sure that our plan sticks. We can spend so much time and effort building this marketing plan, but if we don't stick to it, it does not matter at all, because a plan doesn't do anything by itself unless we execute the plan and we can see the results from it. So how do we actually make it stick? Number one, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I suggest that you set a low bar for yourself. Lower your expectations. In other words, set yourself up to succeed by having lower expectations to start with. So if I say I'm going to create 10 pieces of content in a week and I only create 2, I'm going to feel really disappointed. But if I said I'm going to create 2 pieces of content in a week and I create 2, I'm going to feel like I succeeded. It's the same amount of content in either case, but it's all about our expectations. This is a great illustration of this. So if I have these 2 to-do lists, on the left-hand side, I just pick my top 3 things. On the right-hand side, I have a big laundry list of things. If at the end of the day, I get 3 things done, in one scenario, I feel like I succeeded. I finished the day feeling accomplished. And the other, I feel like I failed. I have no momentum. I don't feel great to get going the next day. So really setting yourself up by setting a low bar for yourself, I think is a really great way of like creating that momentum for yourself. If you have extra time, if I get these 3 tasks done and I have more time, I can always keep doing more, but we don't want to set ourselves up to fail, essentially. The second tip I have for you is to get focused. So really thinking through, when do you get the most done? What are the situations or circumstances where you find yourself really productive and things just flow? What conditions tend to be in place? So this could be like, where are you? Where are you sitting? What time of day is it? Are you in your house? Are you in an office? Like, what's the noise? What are you listening to? All of these things affect how productive and like how in the zone we're able to be. My personal formula, which may work for you, I'm going to share it in case you want it, is I listen to focus music. So music that is scientifically optimized for productivity. You can just go on YouTube and search like focus music and you'll come up with a lot. I use a tool called Focus at Will, but really could be anything, just something that's like focus music. It's not like, doesn't have lyrics. Usually it has like a consistent beat that just, it works. It's pretty magical. And then I use the Pomodoro method, which is working in 25-minute chunks. So I'll set a timer for 25 minutes, listen to my music. After the beep goes off that my 25 minutes are up, I get a break and then I repeat. And it's just like, it works. Tip number 3 is to create accountability. So many of us are dependable for other people. We show up for other people, but we tend to let ourselves down. And I raise my hand here, like this is totally me. I will miss every deadline I set for myself if I don't include other people in it. This is something that you may not love, but that you can use to your advantage. So if you know that you show up for other people, but often don't show up for yourself, then why not include other people in your work? And I do this all the time. In fact, it's a huge part of my membership program because I think it's so important and powerful. So 3 ways to get accountable with your peers. First, this is other small business owners. So you can start accountability groups. You can do one-on-one accountability groups. You can have memberships and programs that you can utilize those to help you stay in the zone. With your team, if you have a VA or any team members, you can set deadlines with them, create dependencies. And then I like to do it with my audience too. I like to say, my podcast comes out every Tuesday. And I say that all the time so that I know people are expecting it. And sometimes if it's Tuesday and the podcast hasn't come out yet till the afternoon, I'll get messages from people that they're waiting for it, which is great. It's great accountability. Commit to a content schedule. So you can also release and talk about launch dates. So if you know you're going to release a product collection, tell your audience, say this is coming out September 7th. And once you've communicated it, you're going to want to stick to it a lot more than if it's just in your own calendar and you haven't told anyone about it. And you can also do this with your customers. So send an automated email after your orders that said, you should get this within 2 weeks. And so you know that people are expecting it, and that kind of creates some gentle pressure for you. Do it imperfectly. I am a big believer in something I call imperfectionism. I really believe perfectionism holds most of us back. And this is what I would say. Even if you feel a perfectionist, you are allowed to feel that. You're allowed to feel fear, self consciousness. You're allowed to feel like you're not ready, imposter syndrome, all these things. And you're allowed to do that and move forward anyway. This is a quote that I'm not going to read to you, but it's the Ira Glass, NPR host. This is an amazing quote. You can search for it. It's called The Gap, or if you watch the replay of this, you can pause on it and read it. It is a fantastic quote about just being willing to put in the work, even when you don't love what you're creating. The last tip I have is to really to commit to consistent action. It's not about the things you do occasionally. It's about the things you show up over and over again to do. So, just being willing to show up, do those small things over time, even if you're not seeing the results in the short term, having that trust that it's all going to come together. This is outdated, actually. I need to update this because it's changed a lot, but this is my podcast stats. As you can see in the beginning, I was releasing episodes and I was not getting a lot of listeners. This is, oh gosh, I don't want to guess. I think it's close to 150,000 downloads now. And that's just from showing up like week after week, even when not much was happening. So hopefully you've seen that with a little bit of intention, you can create a marketing plan that drives the results you want to see in your business and that you'll actually stick to. And like I said, part of this is having ideas of what to post. So if that would be helpful for you, feel free to head to makinggoodpodcast.com/100 prompts. It's right up here on the screen. And you can download this workbook that has a ton of different content prompts to just get you going and help you never feel stuck with what to say. So with that is what I have for you. Happy to answer any questions. And yeah, feel free to connect with me over on Instagram. I'm at Lauren Tilden. Would love to chat marketing, small business, all that good stuff. Answer any questions there too. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lauren, for all of that you showed. I think it's very important we talk about a lot of marketing strategies, but honestly, we don't know. We have the idea and we know that we have to do it, but we actually don't plan it. We plan maybe inventory, like for example, with Inventora, we seek for everyone to be organized for that. But
Yeah.
with marketing, we think about creativity and all of that, and we don't think that we have to make a plan, right? So I think I do have a question, and if anyone else has a question, please leave it in the chat box. But I know that you talk about consistency, but what should we do if, like, how long should we stick to something to see that it's working or not? Like to see that, okay, over there, it's not working, let's move forward.
I think it really depends on what we're talking about. Like, Pinterest, for example, like Pinterest is one of those things, and SEO also, where if you're really investing time into Pinterest and creating pins, or you're creating content online that you're hoping gets found and like makes your business come up in search results, for example, this kind of stuff takes a lot of time, actually. Like you have to be willing to commit to that for, I think, like 90 days or more, showing it consistently, even if you're not seeing the results in the short term. I do think it's important to do your research a little bit in the beginning so that you are spending your effort on the right things. But luckily, we live in a universe where information is everywhere and like very inexpensive or free. So I think it'd be pretty easy if I, for example, was committed to Pinterest, which I think is a great idea for most makers. I think you could go on like YouTube, set a timer for yourself for an hour, do a bunch of searching. I would say search for things like 2023 Pinterest strategy, or even 2023 Pinterest strategy for makers, so that you're getting stuff that's really specific to your circumstances. Learn as much as you can. Don't go too crazy with it. Like I would literally give yourself an hour and then say, okay, what am I doing every week based on what I learned? It may not be the perfect strategy, but it's something. So in that case, like I think it's at least 90 days or more. If it's like an Instagram Reels strategy, for example, I think you could do a shorter time because it's, if you're trying a new format of Reels, for example, you're going to see the results in a shorter period, maybe give yourself a month. So I do think it really depends. And then something like email, for example, like if you're not seeing the results with email, I think it's not time to ditch email. It's time to try different strategies with your email. So it's not always the platform. Sometimes it's the way that we're executing. Um, it's a good question. It's hard to answer with like a concrete answer, but I think it's more than we want to a lot of times would be what I would also say. Like it's tempting to give up earlier than we maybe should. I'd say at least a month, if that's a helpful answer, at least a month.
Yeah, I think it's very important to give it time because sometimes we just want to see results right away, and honestly,
We all do.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. I don't know if anyone else has any other question. I think you were pretty clear on like saying how can we be organized and how to make that plan. So I don't know. I don't if you have any like last tip or advice for us, that would be really helpful. And I think that would be it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I would just say, like, I'm glad your question was about consistency because I think consistency really is everything. Um, it's way better to post 80% quality level content consistently than one piece one time of like A plus that you invested a ton of time into. So I've over the years become more of a like it doesn't have to be perfect, just put it out there kind of person. So do it imperfectly, just put stuff out there, you'll get better. The only way to get better, in fact, is to just keep doing it. And yeah, happy to connect. Would love to chat. So feel free to connect with me on Instagram. But otherwise, I hope it's helpful. I hope you make a marketing plan and execute it.
Definitely, I think we're gonna start doing that.
Yay.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. It's been such a great time having you, Lauren, and having you everyone here. And if you didn't catch all the webinar, we're gonna have it in our YouTube channel, and also we're gonna be sending the replay to your email. So, and please feel free to reach out to Lauren if you have any marketing question. I think she's going to be open
Yeah,
to
for
answer all
sure.
questions. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you so much. Have a good one, all.
bye.